Hey everyone, welcome back to the Atypical Declutter game. My name is April and you are at Atypical Life. Today's topic is don't be a minimalist. Let me be honest and say that title is definitely a little clickbaity. I was just trying to come up with something catchy, but I'm really only recommending that you not worry so much about the minimalist label when you're trying to declutter. The title should really be, don't worry about becoming a minimalist, and don't think it has to be the end goal of decluttering. I love many minimalist YouTube channels, and I'm not saying that minimalism is bad, but I do want to reference some of the fantasy that comes along with the idea of minimalism and how it might be tripping you up like it was me. This is just going to be kind of a personal story. Yeah, that's all this video is. It's more of a personal story that you might be able to relate to. Many of the minimal women that I watch regularly, or not just women, I watch some men too, many of the minimalists that identify as minimalists that I watch regularly would even agree with me, because everyone that identifies as a minimalist is not trying to sell the same thing. Everyone is not trying to give you unrealistic expectations. And sometimes people just use the label minimalism because it's a good generalized way to talk about the topic of someone who is decluttered and curated, and who puts pride in their possessions, and having fewer possessions. So I'm not taking shots at anyone. That's not what this is about. Also, if you can't tell already, this video is a little bit rambly. So if you have thoughts or specific questions, put them down below and we can come back to this, because I do have a few more thoughts on this topic that I would like to get back to, but it was just too much for one video. All right, so let's get into kind of the rambling of my experience and my thoughts about this, and my realization that I needed to remove minimalist label from my life or from my goals. I think that part of the problem with the label is how confusing it is. There's no single working definition for minimalism as a lifestyle. There is for minimalism as art and various and something else, but I don't as far as minimalism as a lifestyle, there's just a bunch of people weighing in on the principles that are important to them. And some of those principles are really awesome, and I totally think should be encouraged, like trying to buy less, trying to put more purpose in our activities and our possessions. Totally would love to encourage those. But then some of them get more and more extreme, just trying to live without furniture, trying to live in a tiny home, with 3 kids. And then, I just don't see these things working for a lot of people. So let's take a minute and let's scrutinize the image that we're sold about what minimalism is. What are the images that we see on social media? How maybe we need to worry less about being minimalists, talking about people like me, and we just need to worry about being ourselves and what works best for us. So first off, decluttering was made popular by the recent minimalist movement. I'm so thankful for that. But decluttering itself is really as old as having things. I mean, we've always had to make decisions of what to keep and what to let go of and what should be a part, and all of this process should be a part of just learning to take care of your home. Decluttering is more effective for me when it's just about getting rid of things, not becoming someone different. Think about that for a second. So it becomes like sweeping the floor. When I sweep my floor, my home does not become a different home. I do not become a different person. My floor becomes clean. When I declutter, I do not become a minimalist. My closet becomes more usable. So I think that there's a nice perspective shift that might help you kind of see where you want to fall in. Do you want to be a minimalist, or do you want to be someone who has a cleaner closet? So I think that part of that's where the first problem comes up. I know a whole bunch of people who were never really taught how to keep a home. And if they were taught, it was really kind of haphazard lessons by their parents who were busy, stressed, didn't really know how to do it themselves. Most of our parents didn't even have the language that we have around decluttering. So here we are, kind of vulnerable. We're in our ineffective housekeeping methods. We're surrounded by last year's declutter and yesterday's dirty food dishes, and suddenly this calm, clean looking, picturesque ideal takes over social media and television, and it's selling minimalism. And we're burning candles. And we're told we could do this too. If we become a minimalist, we could have this same picturesque life. And so now it kind of becomes our fantasy, right? I romanticized this for a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, look how calm and peaceful. And in contrast with our super stressful world that we live in. And of course I want my whole life to be like the spa experience. And I want it to smell good and feel good and be comfortable and calm and peaceful. And I kind of became obsessed with this dream of peace and traveling the world with a backpack and a tiny home and decluttering. It's going to make all this happen. So yes, I'm starting now. Sign me up. Then you try it. Then I tried it. Trash bags full of stuff donated. House still messy. Closet too small. Counters still have appliances. And the walls are still last decade Sherwin-Williams blue. Tried to pare down, but then I realized, I'm attached to some of these things and I probably need some of them. And I live in 4 seasons climate, so I have like all these clothes and I have to have coats. And I don't know, do I really want to drag the toaster out every time I want to use it? And I don't really have the cabinet space to store it. So now all of this, I feel like a failure. My house is still messy. It's improved. Right? It improved. But next time I declutter, that's going to be the time I succeed. But in the meantime, I got to figure out what's wrong with me. So I watch all these declutter videos to figure out how to solve the problem, to motivate me, how can I declutter more stuff? And the next time I declutter, I'm only going to be able to keep exactly what I need to be a minimalist. Less stuff is less stress. And yeah, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. This is exactly what I believed was the ideal. I bought into it for years. This is why I understand it. If anything, I'm calling myself out and I'm making fun of myself because I truly believed that I could declutter my way into a stress-free life. I wanted a spa life. But eventually I just realized that thinking I had to become a minimalist for decluttering to be effective was actually keeping me from being able to make the best decisions for me in the right now based in reality. Based on minimalism, I was refusing to implement organization systems, because according to many minimalists, you shouldn't have so much, you shouldn't really need to organize. That was just one mistake I was kind of making. Declutter, 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 then you can finally organize when you have very, very little stuff, and you probably won't even need to organize it because you have so little. But I never got there, and I was never going to get there. How about the other fact? I was spending so much time decluttering and not enough time tidying up. When I had tried to declutter so many times, and I'm decluttering again, decluttering the same areas again and again and again and again. And I was lucky if I could find 1 or 2 more things. It just wasn't time for me to declutter that area again. So here I am going back over it, trying to become a minimalist, but it was just time wasted. I should have just been tidying. Or, just been tidying, maybe decluttering as I go, because that is so much more helpful for me instead of decluttering to become a minimalist. And then, beating yourself up every time that I saw a drawer, that had gotten stuff full. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm triggered. I have to declutter this whole house again. I'm overwhelmed. I'm never going to get through it all. Blah, blah. I was putting all this pressure on myself to get to this point of life that I was just never going to get to because the junk drawer had some junk in it. Toss the junk, close the drawer, right? But I it couldn't do that. I was triggered because I needed to be a minimalist because I wanted less stress. Really struggling over how many towels I had because I do have company from time to time and these people do need towels. They do take showers and, I have a few more extra towels and all the stress that I was putting onto myself when the ultimate goal was really trying to have less stress, but I was creating stress. I was creating stressful situations. So I'm just curious if any of you guys resonate with that. If you're kind of feel like that maybe you're creating your own stress by trying to get to the point of less stress. And if you took the perspective shift, if you just said decluttering is not meant to make me a minimalist. Decluttering is a way of clearing some things out and we move on. I will only declutter when I actually need to declutter. I will not randomly declutter just because I want to become a minimalist. I don't know. I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to make any of these decisions for anyone. I think this is a personal topic and I think it's a personal thing. Let me know, what are some of the traps you fall into? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the ideal of minimalism? Are you buying it? Are you succeeding in it? Have you become minimal, or have you reduced? I totally agree that reducing some of the amount of stuff. I think some of us have way too much stuff, and the more you reduce, you do have less to take care of. That's real. But then you also have this flip side of where you're kind of creating problems where there might not be problems. I don't know. Anyways, just tell me your thoughts. Let me know, because I like I said, I'm somewhere in the middle. I just had to kind of find this balance for myself. I still watch minimalist content. I still support minimalist principles. I just do it now with a dose of realism and knowing that it's okay to own more things. It's okay to have to tidy a little bit more often and implement some organization. And it's okay to struggle with letting things go and not, and that not owning any possessions isn't going to solve your problems or take away your stress. It's okay. You can do all that. And that's all for today. That was kind of a long ramble video. Thank you guys so much for sticking it out. Don't forget to post your progress on Instagram, #A.Typical declutter, and let us know in the comments how you feel about today's topic, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Okay, so I don't have too much to say about these items. I've just really been focusing on decluttering as I go about my day. And it is day 9, and I have decluttered 90 items. So 10 was originally the goal, and we are meeting the goal at this point. I would like to note, I am going to start spacing out the uploads just a little bit to give me a little bit more time in between. It's really challenging to put up a video every day, and I think it will help me get some other things together to go along with this. So anyways, for those of you who want to follow along, want to join in, go ahead and join whenever you want. Start at day 1, do a couple days and quit. There's no real, like I said at the beginning, there's no real rules to this. It's just about giving you something to do, to follow, to try, to give you a little bit of motivation to do something every day to learn a habit. Anyways, so I will see you again next time. Bye.